Hi guys, so I want to talk about the instructions for our assignment here. Basically, you guys, what we're looking at is we are going to be looking at a multitude of primary sources. The first is here, the city of Tehitokan, and then there is the seated Buddha picture. Oh, my apologies. The seated Buddha picture. And then we have our basically a letter or a journal entry in regards to China. And so this is three different views of what the world was like in the year 300. And what I want us to take a look at is the fact that the first one is from a article where basically what we're looking at is somebody has gone and examined the ruins of the city, of this ancient Mayan, of like the Mayan and Olmec cultures down there. The second one is from a museum, and this seated statue is located in that museum, and then this just kind of shows you where it came from. And then lastly, this is a translated but very descriptive primary source written by somebody who lived in the Chinese Empire in 445. So this is probably the most accurate source of all of them because this is somebody's words from that year of 445. And so they are much more aware of what's going on in the world at that time. So we have three different sources. Your job for today is to go through the sources and read them. As you are reading, I want you to use the tools up here in order to highlight and make comments as you go. So I'll do the first one with you. Source 1, the antique city of Tehitokan. Construction at this place began around 150 BCE and continued until about 250 CE. I'm going to highlight that, and then I'm actually going to add a comment. See this add button here. Now, in my comment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to translate or explain why I chose to highlight this. So 150 BCE, meaning before the year zero, and then 250 years after the year zero. So it took about 250 plus 150 years, because you remember we have like basically a negative and a positive adding together. But before and after, so 250, that's 350, 400. So it took 400 years for this city to be built. And so I put that comment, and that means when I go through it, I know why I highlighted certain things. At its height, the city covered 21 square miles and was home to as many as 200,000 people, making it the largest city in the Western Hemisphere. I'm going to highlight that as well. And anytime I highlight something, I have to put a comment. And I'm going to comment that Tehitucan was the largest city in the Western Hemisphere. You guys, the Western Hemisphere, meaning the Americas. During an excavation of one of the pyramids, an array of gigantic conch shells from the Caribbean, Pacific, and Gulf coasts were also found in this tunnel. Some are engraved with distinctive Mayan hieroglyphics, and this confirms the strong ties between the elites of Tehitokan and Mayan communities as far south as Guatemala and Belize. I'm going to highlight that because artifacts prove that cultures from a variety of areas were in contact with one another. Other relics include exquisite jade ornaments imported from Guatemala, woven straw mats, probably reserved for the elites, rubber balls used in an ancient ball game, striking ceramic pots from neighboring estates, and animal bones from migratory birds, jaguars, and even a bear. So I read this, I highlighted, I commented. If I go to the handout I'm supposed to be filling in, you'll notice that we have a central question of how interconnected were the distant regions of the world in 300. And this question basically is asking, how were cultures talking to each other? Were they talking to each other? Did they have any proof of them being connected, or was this society unable to talk with other societies around them? Now, in this box here, we have the source that I just read. This is where I put my answer for this question. This is where I put the answer for that question, and so on. Now, I have to answer each of these questions in complete sentences, typing in blue font. So I'm going to change my font color to blue. And it's asking what the main idea of the source was. Well, if I look back at this source, it's showing me that the main idea is somebody went down and they went through an old civilization, and they were looking at artifacts in that area. So what I might type is archaeologists examined pyramids built by natives in basically southern South America. And they, oh, I spelled America wrong, sorry. They found a lot of different artifacts in those pyramids, like jade and woven straw mats. Where is the source from? We're talking about where's the article from. So if I go back over here, I can see that it is from theguardian.com. The article, I need to change this to blue. The article is from The Guardian. The pyramids are in the city of I always spell this wrong, Teotihuacan. And then it asks what other locations were discussed. If I go over here, I have it highlighted. So Guatemala and Belize are the other locations. And they mention Guatemala and Belize. The last question is, how does this source show that the world was interconnected? Meaning, how do we know that civilizations were talking to each other? And I have to use my evidence. Remember, I commented over here, artifacts prove that cultures from a variety of areas were in contact. So I can say that the elites of the city and Mayan communities far away were together because of these items that were found. So I changed my font to blue. And I say societies in TEOTI and Mayan communities were in direct contact with one another. We know this because the city had a lot of Mayan goods in its pyramids. So I have read my source, highlighted, commented on everything I highlighted, and then I answered my questions in complete sentences using blue font. Please make sure that you do this for the remaining two. So the seated Buddha and then the Western regions according to Hu Hanshu. And then when I'm done with those three, I need to go down to this section here. You're going to write a 6 to 9 complete sentence paragraph, and you're going to tell me what areas were interconnected. So what overall, based on this chart here, what geographical locations were connected to one another? How were they interconnected? So was it through trade? Was it through war? Was it through people discovering them? Give examples from the sources to support your argument. And then again, you should write between 6 to 9 complete sentences.